All of that is what politicians brought here. You are in the government that you should have particular advantages in your area. There must be an industrial zone in each region, so that the children of the region are employed in these different industries that will be created there.
In the grand halls of the Geneva International Conference Center, the air buzzed with anticipation. Rain from the Swiss autumn gently tapped the glass windows, casting a soft glow over the faces of global delegates and leaders. Despite the hum of the air conditioning, the tension in the room was impossible to ignore as officials hurriedly prepared for one of the most important economic summits in recent history. The stakes were high. Among the crowd entered Ibrahim Traoré, the 5-year-old president of Burkina Faso. His presence stood out not for luxury or spectacle, but for its quiet strength. Dressed in a simple yet well-fitted dark suit, he looked different from the other leaders, clad in extravagant uniforms and designer outfits. His appearance spoke of a man who had endured hardship and risen with resilience. As he sat down, composed and confident, there was an unmistakable air of authenticity about him. Around him, nervous whispers filled the air. The summit's public agenda focused on African resource partnerships, but insiders knew that the real negotiations would happen privately, away from speeches and cameras, where masks dropped and true intentions came to light. Ibrahim Traoré had not come to plead, came to assert his nation's dignity and demand equality for all of Africa. Once the discussions began, it didn't take long for him to see through the polished, diplomatic language used by European leaders. Their so-called partnership models were nothing more than old systems of exploitation. Under new names, with calm and authority, and his French-accented English adding weight to his words, he referenced the trust placed in his leadership. They say I can lead because I've fought on the ground and seen my people suffer. That's why I'm here to speak truth, continued. These proposals still treat African countries like resource suppliers, not equals. The room grew still. Cameras zoomed in on Ibrahim's face, firm, determined. Burkina Faso and our fellow African nations deserve partnerships built on mutual respect, not dependency. Shock swept across the room. European leaders shifted uncomfortably in their seats, avoiding his gaze. The silence thickened, broken only by a faint, impatient tapping. Donald Trump, sitting nearby, appeared visibly annoyed. His jaw tightened, fingers drumming on the table in frustration. Then came the moment that would make headlines worldwide. Trump's voice rang out, harsh and dismissive. "Sit down, African." The words were spoken casually, but their effect was powerful. Trump's comment wasn't just dismissive, it was openly racist, tended to belittle Ibrahim Traoré and put him in his place. A political storm erupted in the aftermath. The White House later claimed his remarks were taken out of context, but many around the world saw them for what they truly were, a clear display of racism. The silence in the summit hall was heavy. Some European leaders avoided eye contact, staring at the floor. Representatives from the African Union sat, frozen faces, filled with a mix of anger, pain, and bitter recognition. The cameras caught every second. On social media, hashtags like #WeStandWithIbrahim began trending globally within minutes. At that moment, President Traoré faced a decision that would define his legacy: to respond in anger or with dignity. His military background had taught him that silence could be more powerful than any outburst. So he stood still, calm, composed, breathing slowly. He had faced this kind of subtle racism before, the same kind that had long haunted African leadership, but this time he chose quiet. Strength seconds stretched into what felt like hours. The world waited. Then, with calm authority, Ibrahim Traoré finally spoke. His voice was steady, but carried deep power. "Mr. Trump, I remain standing not out of defiance, but because the weight of my ancestors' sacrifices will not allow me to sit in the presence of such disrespect." His words were thoughtful and precise, spoken like a man shaped by struggle, now writing history. "I am Captain Ibrahim Traoré, President of Burkina Faso, elected by the will of my people and responsible for their dreams of a better tomorrow." His voice grew firmer. "I did not travel thousands of miles to be reduced to a racial stereotype by someone who confuses loudness with leadership. The room was stunned. The silence Traoré had held became a weapon, his words reclaiming not just his own dignity, but the dignity of his people and of Africa as a whole. Cameras captured it, all this historic moment now immortalized. The Swiss moderator, pale and visibly shaken by what had just unfolded, stood motionless, completely unable to intervene.